how I went from a fat powerlifter to a lean and athletic and energetic shape, and how you can do that too. So a little bit of context about myself. I'm Coach Ábris, founder of Demi Cycle Protocol, and we help corporate executives and entrepreneurs, high achievers, lose at least 6 to 9 pounds per month, add lean muscle mass, and double their energy levels through sleep and lifestyle optimization. And this is how we exactly help over 50 clients by now. This is how I helped myself lose tremendous amounts of body fat, meanwhile in elevating my energy levels and basically making my lifestyle and life quality much better. The same thing I do for my clients. So I've done this cycle over and over and over again. It has been tested many times, but how I exactly did that on myself last year was something that massively transformed my health. So this is something I wanted to share with you guys, and it also has something to do with me pivoting from a certain sport I was pursuing towards other types of athletic endeavors. So yes, I used to be a power lifter. I used to compete in powerlifting. I was a bench press specialist at the body weight of 183 pounds. I was benching 335. That was my ultimate best, my, how do you call it, all-time high, my PR, right, personal record. And it was competition style, so it was start, press, rack. So it was based on certain types of commands that I had to wait for. If you don't wait for the commands, basically it's not an acceptable lift. So it was basically a paused bench press, and yeah, that was my absolute best. But later on, as I wanted to improve a lot on my deadlifts and squats and further push the bench press, meanwhile I also injured my shoulders, I just became fatter and fatter, and I thought that I will be much stronger if I start bulking and eating like crap and becoming as big as humanly possible, because I was all in on powerlifting. I loved that so much, and especially benching. I think it's probably visible but I went all in, and you know what? I haven't become stronger by an ounce. My bench didn't really go up because my shoulders are absolutely rigged, and back then I was practicing a lot of shoulder mobility to rehab myself, and it has been taking a while. It has been like an 18 months process of recovering my shoulders, but in the meantime I didn't really improve my bench. My squats, my deads, they improved, but it is what it is. I became fat. I went up to 217 pounds at the absolute top of my transformation, and the absolute top of my bulk, and it felt terrible. At that point I was kind of like force feeding myself. My metabolism was completely wrecked, and kind of like I felt like, okay, now I'm at the point where my body doesn't want to accumulate more strength and muscle mass, but it definitely does want to accumulate more fat. And the reason of that, and if you are above 20% body fat as a male, you probably know at this point that it's much easier to gain fat for you at this point rather than to lose fat and gain muscle. Why? Because the higher your body fat is, the higher estrogen levels you have, and probably the lower testosterone. And estrogen incentivizes, motivates your body to accumulate more body fat. So the fatter you become, the hormonally more suitable you are for gaining even more body fat. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. And I was like, okay, it's time to get out of this cycle until I'm young and not to ever get into this situation again, right? So back then I was already good at nutrition, training, whatever. I already had clients who were crushing it pretty good. So I was like, okay, now it's the end of the powerlifting season. Now we've got other priorities, right? Everybody appreciates athletic performance. Everybody appreciates if you pursue a sport, but don't let the sport itself ruin your health. So I was like, okay, let's get absolutely ripped. Let's up the cardio, let's up my life quality, my heart health, everything. But let's do it in a way that it's sustainable and it won't take me more than 2 to 3 hours per week. So I always wanted to practice what I preach. And even back then, I was preaching to my clients that, okay, you don't need a lot, you just need better. So yeah, I was like, okay, let's do everything exactly how I did before. Just be consistent with it enough. I was like, okay, I'm giving myself 6 months to lose this. I didn't know back then that it was 50 pounds. You always underestimate how much fat you want to lose, right? So I was like, okay, it's gonna be like 30 pounds, 40 pounds. Okay, I can do that. I can easily do that in 6 months, less than 6 months. Well, it turned out to be 6 months and actually 50 actual pounds of body fat. Well, 50 pounds, that occupies a lot of space. I was big as hell, right? 217 pounds, you know, to the height of 5'11", 180 centimeters for Europeans. Well, you know, it's big. It's quite big, and I was occupying, you know, spaces, and I just went down, and now I'm feeling much better, way better at around 170-ish pounds, right? And what really matters is that in this matter of 6 months, I did that back in 2023 without restricting my diet, without counting a single calorie, without doing like a very strict cardio routine, and without, you know, ever saying no to drinking alcohol or having fun with friends, going to an event, client dinner, whatever. So I never skipped these occasions. Actually, I had a lot of fun, plenty of fun in 2023, and I had, I think, 11 flights. I traveled back and forth and to other places, you know, Hungary, Denmark, Czech Republic, Albania, a lot of spaces. So that was my 2023, and how I exactly did that is it came in phases, and this is what exactly I do with my clients. I lead them through different phases of the fat loss process or the body transformation process, because each phase is building on top of each other. So for me, it came in like 3 different phases. Number 1 is just reorganizing my habits and readjusting my body. So back in April 2023, I was fat. I felt shit, miserable, so tired, low energy all the time, because at that point I was preparing for bench press competition. I was still at university preparing for exams, semester projects, whatever. I was also running my business in the meantime, and you know, everything in between, trying to handle all the stress, all those doubts, because back then I wasn't entirely sure if this is something I will do full time. I could have never even dreamed of being here in Paraguay, Asuncion, and just doing what I love and making a living and impacting lots of lives around the world. I wouldn't have thought that it will ever be possible or I will ever succeed with it, but I knew one thing for sure: I will succeed with my fat loss transformation, and I will show the world that, okay, I'm not that fat, big, scary monster powerlifter guy that you used to know, guys. I can actually pull this off because I have done this before. Like, before powerlifting, I was a model. I had a pretty decent shape as a model, and before modeling, I was doing calisthenics. I had a pretty decent and lean shape when I was doing calisthenics. So I knew that I did this cycle so many times, over and over and over again, that I should succeed right now. It's just a slightly larger amount of fat that I have to get rid of this time. So in phase 1, I had to readjust my mindset, my body, my entire brain chemistry in a way that I am aligned with my fat loss goals. So the first thing I did was I stopped force feeding myself, obviously, and I shifted the way I think about food. So for me, food was not like just fuel anymore that I have to eat. It was a reward, a gift, not a reward. I would say not a privilege, but something I can be grateful for. So I don't have to eat, but I get to eat, right? So I started appreciating food and don't look at it only as a tool, right? And I started eating like higher volume, lower energy foods, which I can satiate myself with without eating too many calories or too caloric or nutrient dense foods, right? Because in some of my videos I say calories don't exist, right? You can still make this call for yourself whether they exist or not, but energy intake is indeed very important, but not all units of energy are created equal. So I tried to do this from mainly clean sources, and I was going for like big food with little energy in it. So what I mean is that large carb sources, like large in size, for example, potatoes, sweet potatoes. I ate a lot of grilled veggies, raw carrots, celery, whatever, everything that adds volume, which adds kind of like real estate, takes up real estate in your stomach, right? Anything that adds volume to the meals, to the food, that was a good to go for me. And as a dessert, I tried to avoid like processed sweet and replace that with yogurt, watermelon. Watermelon is amazing because it's huge in size, and for every 100 grams maybe you got, if you really want to calculate calories, we don't do that in our program, but if you really want to, for every 100 grams watermelon has less than 30 calories. So it's basically nothing. You can eat a kilogram, so like 2 pounds of watermelon, still have less than 300 calories in your system. So at the end of the day, it's your call. If you eat like 2 pounds of watermelon, you will end up feeling like this, but you will end up looking like this. You will get shredded, right? Because it satiates you. It gives you a lot of energy because it hydrates you, and it contains citrulline, which makes the nitric oxide just pump up your veins, so the blood flow will be boosted. All the nutrients will get to your muscles faster, so you will feel pumped and energetic, like unmatched blood flow. I always have the best blood flow of my life after eating watermelon. And this is because of the L-citrulline, that amino acid that you can find in watermelon, also in the watermelon's meat, so the red part, and also in the crust of the watermelon. The very strange thing about me is that I also like to eat the crust of the watermelon, and I advise for it as long as it's organic and the crust hasn't been sprayed with pesticides and all that bullshit. I mean, humans are adaptable. I don't think there are anything that we couldn't survive with enough practice, but this is not medical advice, so just do this at your own risk. Okay, so large foods. This is what you have to remember. I switched my carb sources from pasta and rice to potatoes, sweet potatoes, grilled veggies, watermelon, and so on and so on. Anything that's big but low in energy intake, right? It was that simple. And once I made this switch, and once I started thinking of food as, okay, this is something that's supposed to make me feel better in a way that my body is better supplied with all of the things I need, not just the quantity of the things I need, but the quality of the things I need, I started feeling much better because I started being cautious about electrolyte consumption. I started eating more fruits. So majority of my carb intake for the day was not from rice and pasta anymore, but it was like a diverse selection of foods. So I didn't only focus on bulking up anymore and just being a boring gym rat, but my main focus became, okay, how do we make this fun? So this is how in the past year I came up with, I think, more than 100 recipes that I have already shared in my private community, the Demi Cycle Protocol. So if you want to join, it's still free. You can click on the link below and join our free Telegram, and I'm happy to share you all of these recipes. And Yeah, because I had to be creative. I had to come up with new meals sometimes because I like eating, I like cooking. I consider myself a food addict and a coach for food addicts, right? So if you like eating, this is your go-to place, and feel free to join our free community. And that's about phase one. So phase number one, I didn't increase any cardio. I just started walking 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day. I kept consistent with it. I kept consistent with my training schedule. I didn't really change anything, because if you want to grow your muscles or sustain your muscles, meanwhile you're losing body fat, your training style shouldn't really change. Maybe you should reduce the volume a little bit, and this is where most of you mess it up, because you think you need more volume and you need higher reps and lower weights to pump your muscles, to tone down. But no, toning down is a consequence of you losing fat. It's not like you're doing higher repetitions and your muscles will suddenly become better shape. No, the shape of your muscles is genetically determined based on where do they insert, right? But the size of your muscles, how full they are and how strong they are, that is determined by your training, your nutrition, and your sleep and recovery. So if you get this dialed in, you can absolutely tone down, but not because of pumping with high repetitions and low weights, but just follow your regular training schedule, train as intense as you possibly can and you can possibly recover from, and you would rather go for a little bit less volume but the same heavy weights, right? So can you actually gain muscle on a cut? Of course you can. So you can increase your strength on a cut. So if you train based on the principles of progressive overload, that every single week you just increase your weekly workload a little bit, so you add a couple reps, or you add a little bit of weight, or you slow down the negatives or the exercises, your tempo on the exercises, then you add more time under tension. So at the end of the day, your muscles in total will get more stimuli, and this is your goal. So to have more total workload week by week by week. And if you manage to do that, if you get stronger, that means that you have more muscle. And if you have more muscle on a cut, that means for your body, it will be more expensive to maintain. So you will keep burning and burning and burning and burning more calories. Did my strength increase on the cut? Well, relatively it did. Absolutely it did not. What I mean by that? I started from 217 pounds and I went down to 170, like somewhere between 167 and 170 pounds. I became like very, very lightweight, flyweight baby. Especially after my water pool. I will share you pictures how I looked. Absolutely sick, but next time I will do even better. So I lost like 47 to 50 pounds of body fat, and my bench press went from 335 pounds, it went down to 325 pounds. So meanwhile, I was losing 50 pounds of body fat. I only lost 10 pounds of pressing strength, which means that now I can bench press a higher percentage of my body weight that I used to do before, right? So my relative strength has increased. So in my game, when I have about 9 years of experience in the whole health and fitness space. In powerlifting particularly, I have 6 years of experience aggregated. So I know what I'm talking about. At this level, like not losing muscle on a cut is kind of like a wonder. Like, how did I do that? Well, I just took care of my protein intake, my recovery, I kept training hard, and basically that's it. And if you are not at this level yet, or you are like a beginner, lower intermediate, you can even gain muscle on a cut, just because of you will be in this kind of positive nitrogen, positive protein balance. And especially if you are a starter or restarter, right? Because for your body, it will be novel stimulus. It will be something new that you're doing, and it will incentivize, it will motivate your body to put on some more muscle mass. So you will only benefit from this. Okay, but once I was over phase one, and kind of like after 2-ish months, I started plateauing with my fat loss. I still didn't have like cheese shredder abs, I wasn't really satisfied with myself, so I was like, okay, what else we can do? Well, at that point, business started to become more and more of a priority in my life. So I said, okay, why don't we make more time for ourselves every single day? Why don't we get even more energy, right? Because I was getting enough energy already from my sleep, from electrolytes, and from my nutrition in general, but I always felt too slow in the mornings. Every time I ate breakfast, I felt like I'm slowing down, and I also figured that it kinda procrastinates or takes a lot of time away from the productive deep work that I could be doing in the mornings. So back then, one of my, for example, my core business areas, writing, I thought I'm lacking on that. I thought, hey, I could be a better writer. I could write probably more and better, more engaging content. And I took a writing course, and shout out to my brother, Kieran, because he made it. Kieran Drew, amazing British lad, and I learned a lot from him on how to write actually good stories, good content, good posts, like Twitter or X, or call it whatever you want, was and kind of like still is my main platform, so feel free to follow me there. But yeah, I wanted to be better and more engaging, more entertaining for my audience. And I was like, okay, I do my writing sessions in the mornings. In the mornings, I can't feel tired, can't feel sluggish, and I was like considering this and that, and I was like, okay, why don't we do intermittent fasting, and let's see how that goes. Skipping the breakfast and eating slightly more food for lunch and dinner. And it worked. So I started in phase number 2, intermittent fasting. Is it for everyone? No. Was it good for me? Yes. Does it work for my clients? Yes, for like 60-70% of them who follow it and actually enjoy it. For them, it works perfectly. Is it healthy in the long term? Yes and no. Yes, it is healthy because it actually helps you a lot. You know, less metabolic stress in your body. It has, very positive long-term consequences. But some studies suggest that it's the opposite. Some studies suggest that intermittent fasting in the long term is, for example, not good for your intestines. But some studies suggest that it is good for your intestines and it can help you prevent colon cancer. The other one says no, it doesn't help you. It actually causes colon cancer. So many confusing studies that just do your own research. And if you feel like, okay, intermittent fasting after trying it for at least 3 weeks is a net benefit for you, and do that. And I did it in a way that every morning I started applying my WUASI, so the WUASI protocol I made up myself. So this is wake up and send it. So I didn't want to procrastinate working on my goals, working on my dreams, working on my business, working on my clients every single morning, or writing content every single morning. I didn't want to delay this. I didn't want to be the productive procrastinator with a fucking 69-step morning routine who doesn't do anything worth noting in the morning before doing all those meditation, cold plunge, and sun gazing protocols, right? So you don't want to be that esoteric guys, zombie balls and all that bullshit. No, you don't have to. Just get straight to work. And how I did that with this kind of WUASI protocol, wake up and send it, that every time I open my eyes, like a big glass of sparkling water next to my bed, chug it down, 30 push-ups, right upon waking, attacking the day, and get straight to deep work. After like 30 or 90 minutes of deep work, I had my first cup of coffee. Why? Because first, I preferred the sparkling water that filled up my stomach, that decreased my hunger, but already I slept well, I was tracking my sleep, right? And that decreased my hunger hormone levels, increased my satiety levels, so I wasn't that hungry in the morning. But in case I would be stressed or anxious a little bit, I drank sparkling water that calmed me down. It kind of like evened out my stomach acid area, right? And after that, when the stress went down, the cortisol, the stress hormone wasn't spiking that much, 30, 90 minutes, I was drinking a cup of coffee. And every hour or two, I was drinking a cup of black coffee or green tea just to boost my metabolism, right? And to burn more calories per hour. And I kept doing this and working hard until 2 p.m. 2 p.m. I had a light lunch. Usually it has been some minced beef, ground beef, with a couple eggs or low-fat cheese, wrapped up in tortillas, or with potatoes, sweet potatoes. I really like doing something with like tomato sauce and stuff like that. Lots of Italian stuff. I just enjoy these, or Mediterranean food, right, with a lot of ground beef. I ate ground beef, ground rabbit, or any kind of lean protein sources every single day. So it could be like 95/5 minced meat, or it could be sirloin, tenderloin, tilapia, tuna, shrimps, eggs, cottage cheese, whatever. So whatever is low in fats, or general low in energy but high in protein. So lean cuts of meat, as I mentioned, and lots of lean dairy, lean protein sources in general, with a lot of large size low energy carbs on the side, so like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and so on and so on, what I already mentioned. And it really does help a lot. And in the evening, I always had a big feast. Usually it was a concoction of skyr yogurt, a couple of scoops of whey protein, raw honey, cacao powder, or like dark chocolate, at least 70%, frozen berries, different types of fruits, an abundance of carbs, because I really like to batch up my carbs, either before and after my workouts, and usually I work out in the evening, or on the rest day, just 2 to 3 hours before sleep. Because if you eat a lot of carbs in one sitting, first it's satisfying, right? Before that, during the day, you haven't eaten that much or that many carbs, right? So your body was burning fat all day long. So those little carbs in the evening won't hurt you, right? You can feel like you're cheating, but if your diet is good enough, you don't feel like cheating, right? If your marriage is good enough, you don't want to cheat. So every day I ate my favorite foods, so I didn't want to cheat. So what else? And yeah, when you eat a lot of carbs in the evening, it kind of increases your adenosine levels, so your tiredness hormone. And the more tired you are in the evening, the easier you fall asleep. So the easier it will be for you to have a deep and efficient sleep all the way through the night. So that helps a lot. That really helped a lot. So that was phase 2 for me, intermittent fasting, and it has accelerated my weight loss until I hit the third plateau. Okay, I had these systems in place. I was intermittent fasting. I was eating high volume, low energy foods with plenty of protein, right? I was still having some sweets, cakes and candies here and there because I knew how to use them for function. I was thinking of it as not as a diet, but as nutrition. I wanted to nourish my body, and I knew what type of nutrients can I use and when. Carbs for energy, fats for hormonal balance, protein for enhancing my metabolism and keeping up my muscle mass and to keep up my strength, my recovery, and so on and so on and so on. So if you know the rules or the roles of different macronutrients, then it won't be difficult for you to assemble the perfect diet for yourself and be flexible with it. Of course, it helps for you, just like for me, to have like 3, 4, 5 go-to recipes or go-to meals that you can eat every time, because the less you have to think about what you want to eat, the easier it is to stick to a certain nutritional framework. But the more flexible you are, it also helps you a lot, because then you don't have to be anxious and you're less likely to slack off, right? So if your diet is so good that you don't feel like you want to cheat, then you probably won't cheat and you probably will succeed, right? But I still hit a plateau. I still had all of these systems in place, and I was like, okay, I didn't want to say no to traveling because I wanted to see my family as often as possible, and I wanted to network and meet people as often as possible. I didn't want to say no to family events. That I didn't. And I didn't want to say no to, having some fun, drinking a little bit of alcohol here and there. Why wouldn't I do that, right? Well, some of you say that, oh, alcohol that kills your muscle cells, and who it stops fat loss processes and stuff like that. That's true to a certain extent. So alcohol temporarily shuts down those mechanisms for 24 to 48 hours in your body that help your fat cells to shrink, but you can still drink alcohol occasionally, right? If you have this balance in your life, and you can still lose fat. So for example, for me, I drink once a month guy, and usually not more than 1 or 2 drinks. So it was easy for me, or like simple. But if you drink more than that, just assign yourself a time, like every quarter, where you drink more than 1 or 2 drinks. And for the rest of the months and weeks, limit yourself to 2 to 3 drinks per week in total, right? And make sure that's high quality drink. Make sure that alcohol is not the main course of the night, but just spice, right? Like cherry on the top. It's a seasoning for already valuable conversations. And always make sure that you're cautious about who you drink with, why you drink, and what you drink. So make sure the quality is okay. Make sure that what you drink is like a cleaner source of alcohol. What I mean by that, it could be like a clean and transparent spirit, like tequila, vodka, gin, or it could be some kind of a dry red wine. So dry red wines, they really do, I think they are good. They're pretty high quality, and they won't make you that fat, or they won't slow you down as much. Although alcohol ruins your sleep pattern, you feel like, okay, you fall asleep very quickly, but it messes up your deep sleep. So I wouldn't recommend like drinking wine before sleep, even though if you feel like it helps you, it doesn't really help you. It's just an illusion, and you will wake up the next morning completely trashed, and you don't want to be like that. So, but I still wanted to keep drinking alcohol. So this is why I followed this strategy I just told you, because, okay, I thought elimination is never the solution. The solution is not even moderation. The solution is always systems and habits. How do I make it work, right? So if you are really into a relationship, for example, and of course there will be problems, but if you are really invested into your partner, you won't break up at the first problem. You will say, okay, how do we make this work? Because you are important enough for me to make compromises and to change my behavior a little bit. And I really hope that I am important enough for you as well, that you can change your behaviors for me. The same goes for you and food. The same goes for you and your body fat. The same goes for everything, all of these processes in your body. You have to make compromises, and you can have, you can still have fun and have an amazing body. So, how did I get this sorted in the third and final phase of my fat loss? Well, I started gradually increasing my DMT. Because what is DMT? Daily movement targets. Because think about it. If you have already done everything within your powers to fix your nutrition, to fix your metabolism, to fix certain habits, what else can you do to make your body burn even more energy and to make your body crave even more movement? What kind of flywheel do you have to kickstart if you want to make sure that you go below 10% body fat and you look absolutely match shredded, right? So this is for you if you're trying something that you haven't done before in your life, because any one of you could just get to 12 to 15% body fat with the right system, with the right guidance in place, making sure that you follow these nutritional frameworks, and maybe, not necessarily, but maybe trying intermittent fasting. Most of my clients, men above 40, 50 years old, entrepreneurs, high performance executives, and so on and so on and so on. These dudes can easily get below 15% body fat with these systems in place. That's why I'm so confident about saying these. But some of them, they wanted to go to the extremes, and I can completely understand them. Because if you are a man over 40 or 50 who has already made it in their career or have already made it in their business, right? You've got all the money you wanted, so it's not that interesting anymore. You have built a family, right? Your kids are kind of like on the way of becoming completely independent, right? They will be set for life. So you are seeking for new challenges. And usually what you as a man seek for after you have fulfilled yourself intellectually, financially, and family and relationship wise, the next thing that you usually pursue is physical excellence, if you haven't already pursued that back in high school or college. So if this was not a chapter in your life before, then physical excellence will definitely be that chapter of your life which you do after you have achieved majority of your career goals or business goals. And sometimes what I really like about these men is that they are motivated as hell and they have ambitious goals. They have high standards, because if you have already had discipline in your business, if you have already had high standards about how you do business, then you will have an easy time transferring this kind of discipline into your health and physique, right? You will have a very, very easy time with that. And yeah, some of them, this is why I'm saying, because some of them said, okay, I want to get to 9% body fat, 8% body fat, 6% body fat. How do we do that? I was like, okay, we'll just gradually increase your DMT and we will do some VO2 max. And what does that mean, okay? So let me get it straight. DMT, as in daily movement targets, can mean a lot of different things. So it could be a step count target for the day, or the number of meters or feet or miles swam or walked or ran, or how many times do you throw the frisbee to your goal. So any kind of quantifiable daily target for movement that you can know for sure that you can do it every single day, even when you're traveling and even when you are at your busiest high seasons of your life. So this is why we give a travel protocol, for example, for our clients every time they take a trip or go on like a business conference, because we want to make sure that they can stay consistent with their habits and with their DMT every single time they go traveling, in the whole year round. It can be sustained. So just for we are on the same page, by DMT I don't mean drugs, right? None of that hippie bullshit. I mean daily movement targets. And as long as you've got your daily movement targets dialed in, your metabolism will be spinning. So what I did is I gradually started increasing this from 6 to 8K steps to 7 to 11, and after that to 10 to 12, and then finally every day I made myself walk. I made it work to walk more than 12 to 15K steps per day, so 12 to 15,000. I started this kind of 2 walks policy. I was like, I'm not trying to make fun of like China's 2-child policy, but it sounded good. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a 2 walks policy for myself. So every single morning, like early morning, like 5 or 6 a.m., I was going out for at least a 30-40 minute walk, right? And the next step was that every single evening, when I finished with majority of my workflow and I have already went to the gym and stuff like that, I grabbed my stuff and I went for another 30-40 minute walk. And back then I was living in Denmark in my final phase of my cut. It was snowing there, snowy, windy, goddamn cold. It was minus 10 to 15 Celsius degrees. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna show it to the world that I can do it. Because what kind of a coach I am if I can't show it to my clients that, hey, guys, this is how you do that. You can still listen to podcasts in the meantime. You can still get on the calls in the meantime. You can still be active. You can do it with your family. You can do it with your wife. You can do it with your dog. You can involve everyone in your health goals as long as they see that you are getting results, right? So I wanted to see the world, okay, I'm going for these walks and here are the results. Here's the proof of concept, right? And well, I guess it worked. And I really started enjoying walking. It was one of my favorite mental health activities, and when my best content ideas and creative workflow just came to my mind. It felt like just going out, opening my pineal gland and just downloading sauce from the universe. It was amazing. So I can only recommend this, guys. And yeah, this is how I increase my DMT. But there are many ways to skin a cat. So if walking is not for you, and if you prefer swimming, or if you prefer some kind of ball games, throwing the ball X times a day, whatever, just make sure that you gradually increase that. And what else could you do? You could increase your lung capacity, your blood oxygen levels, your VO2 max. So for example, my client Devin, who got below 9% body fat at the age of 45, now he's 46. So what he did is that 2 to 3 times per week, he was doing 20 to 30 minutes of VO2 max cardio, which means that first he tested out his favorite cardio exercise. What is the heart rate he's doing this at for 1 minute straight at maximum intensity? And then we took that heart rate as 100% and we took 80 to 70% of that. So what it means is that he did cardio, his favorite cardio activity, at 70 to 80% of his maximal heart rate for 20 to 30 minutes straight, 2 to 3 times per week. And this has helped him to increase his blood oxygen levels, his lung capacity, and to burn buttloads of fat. Just like a tip, if I can give it to you, before eating anything after this cardio session, just wait 30 minutes for your body to still stay in that kind of fat burning range. Well, you will be grateful for this tip, okay? So don't eat immediately after cardio. It's not too good for your stomach, and kind of like your body is in survival mode, so it's more likely to store or accumulate fat in case you would be eating junk food after a cardio session. So it's just like a side note for you to remember, but yeah, this is how we did it basically. And this is how we also increased his DMT. So this was the final push, which is obviously not easy, but if you want to become your absolute best version, if you want to pursue physical excellence, if you want your brain to perform the fastest, sometimes you do have to make it work. You do have to incentivize yourself to move more. The more you move, the more active your brain will be. The more you move, the higher or the more active your active heart rate will be, and the lower your resting heart rate will be. A lower resting heart rate provides you with better sleep. Better sleep provides you with better recovery, more growth hormone, more testosterone, so faster fat loss. So everything is interconnected. You can't divide health to certain different domains or areas. Everything is one big unit where everything, multiple tens of thousands of metabolic processes in your body are interconnected with each other. So this is how I changed my body composition, my brain chemistry, and this is how we do that with our clients, which enables them to go from overweight, slow and sluggish and low energy men in their 40s or 50s who feel like they could be better for their families or to be seen as a real leader in their companies. And I can totally understand their motivation. This is why I help them. This is how I help them to become the leanest and most energetic version of themselves, so they can crush it every day, they can be present for their families, and they can stay on top of their business priorities without investing too much time into that, so they can stay more efficient. And I also succeeded to build this kind of efficient machine of my body, so every day I can wake up, I can bang out 14, 16-hour workdays, I can create as much content as you want, I can work with plenty of clients, and I can stay on top of my service delivery, I can still help them a lot based on my best knowledge, I can still hit my workouts, I'm still going for my walks, I'm still cooking, I enjoy cooking, doing these meals for myself, but if you outsource this process, this is not a problem, it is more time efficient for you and it helps you, that's perfect. So everything is balanced in my life at this point because I lost fat in the sustainable way and not in the crash dieting way. So this is how I went from a fat powerlifter to a lean, athletic and energetic coach. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change anything. I would do and follow the exact same protocol. And I know this might be a little bit confusing or overwhelming to you. And you might not be able to completely copy paste this protocol and you might need help with it. So if you feel like you need help with accountability and making it sustainable for you and making it customized for you, and you are over 40 years old, you are good at what you do, you're good at your career, at your business, you have a family, and a really busy schedule, and you want to make it work, right? You have a willingness to make it work and to sustainably lose fat, so you don't have to yo-yo diet, right? Gain it back, lose it, gain it back, lose it. You want a permanent solution for your problems, and you want your health to serve you for at least another 3 to 4 good decades that you can spend actively. Then feel free to go to the description, book a free call with us, and let's see how we could craft up a game plan for you that works for you in the long term and that can guarantee to you that you will lose all your excess body fat in the next 6 months in less than 2 to 3 hours per week, and without having to count a single calories, saying no to family events, company events, drinking a little bit of alcohol, or refusing your favorite foods. So if you feel like you are ready to commit right now, you're not a procrastinator, you're not someone who has to think too much about making a decision regarding your health, then book a free call with us. If you feel like, okay, you are the type of guy who hesitates, who is not ready to commit, who is not ready to invest, and to develop and progress with the only asset you will care about when it's gone, your health. So if you're that type of guy who procrastinates working on this, or who is too much of a little girl inside to make such a decision that, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make this happen. If you don't have this kind of mindset and self-belief, please do not book a call with us yet. Just watch my remaining videos where I train your brain up to that level that you will be actually ready, right? And if you enjoyed this video and you feel like, okay, you could already implement something from this, or you already found it useful, you tried a couple of tips, then feel free to like, subscribe, share this with your family members, your teammates, your colleagues, and let them grow together with you. Let them improve their health the lean, energetic, and sustainable way. So if you have any further questions on how I did it, how we did it with this, all of these conversations and all of these transformations with our clients, how did we actually realize this? How did we actually make this happen? Feel free to ask in the comments below and let me know your thoughts, your experiences, and maybe share your weight loss successes from the past. I would be happy to hear that. I always encourage motivational and civilian discussions and conversations down in the comments below. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.